My name is Sarah Aburaisi, and I'm here to give you a webinar entitled of How to Write a Diversity Statement. I'm sure that a lot of you have encountered diversity statements while applying to academic jobs or certain jobs. So I would like to know, since we're a tight group, when is the first time you heard a diversity statement? What was the context? Were you asked by an employee? Were you asked to do that as part of your as part of an academic work? So please, anyone, if you can share, how did you stumble upon the diversity statement document?
I can start. Uh,
Please.
I've applied a couple times to um a couple different jobs. Well, I think that the last one was a couple years ago. I applied to a full-time at Pasadena City College, and I think that was the last diversity statement that I wrote. And yeah, it was kind of like a standard thing. And there's some guidelines. There's more on YouTube now, but it's an important component of the application process, and you're asked about it in the interview as well too. So it seems like it's something that we have to know about, and we have to know about like sort of you know I guess the position of marginalized groups, and sort of
Yes.
like identifying that, and sort of being able to articulate like the problems and the solutions, and to some extent as well to some of these problems within the statement, or sort of like what we kind of see as, I guess, things that would like alleviate certain things concerning like the lack of diversity.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Who else wants to chime in? When is the first time you stumbled upon the word diversity statement? When did you have to do one, or are you still planning to do one? When was your first encounter?
I was applying, I was completing the terminal masters before this, and I was applying for PhD programs. And I had asked one of my professors, can they write a recommendation letter for me? And
Mhm.
he said yes. And he also sent over his CV, and his CV included a diversity statement. That was the first time I've ever seen one. I have never actually written one, but I had heard about it thrown around. At my previous employment, people had to submit a diversity statement, but that I've never actually written one.
Um, what did you, how was your reaction when that was part of the CV? Because like that was something new, right? Like when you saw it, you was like, what? What's that? What was your reaction?
I
Because
thought
we
it
know
was
what's a CV.
interesting.
We know what's a CV. We've been
Yes.
acquainted with CVs, yeah, for a while.
Yes, that was the first CV I've seen anything like that attached to it. Usually it's just their employment and education history.
Yeah.
So that was, I just thought that was interesting, and I read through it, and it was succinct. I'm not sure like how long a diversity statement should be, if that was a proper diversity statement. I think he was one of the few professors in the program who had just had one. Even
Mhm.
my advisor did not have a diversity statement, or at least one that she showed me.
Mm. Um, I like to think about diversity statements as your selling point. Like you're selling something about yourself. You're selling how diverse are you, and you're selling how you're gonna put your uniqueness into the position that you're being employed to. So I think short and sweet and compelling. So if as long as it answers all the questions that constitute what the diversity statement is, I like a one pager diverse. Mine is a one pager diversity statement. And I like that because sometimes all you need is one. Some employers won't read more. Yeah. I would like to welcome Dr. Tamar Salibian. She's joining me. She's my co-host today. Tamar, oh yeah. Yeah, we were waiting for you with the technical difficulties. We're sorry for for bothering you that way. Thank you so much for joining.
And this is great conversation that's already starting to take place, thinking about who has crafted a diversity statement, where we've witnessed it, how it has sort of been presented, and how we receive it. It's wonderful. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tamar. So without further ado, let's start. Our agenda for the day is we're going to talk a little bit about diversity statements, a little introduction. We're going to talk about the key components of an effective diversity statement. We're going to understand what is diversity, what's inclusion, and we're going to go briefly on the steps to write a diversity statement, the do's and don'ts, and some tips to personalize your statement. And then we're going to open the floor for some Q&As. So, what is a diversity statement? A diversity statement is a personal essay, so it's very personal. So you can't like get you probably can get inspired from other people, but it does not stay your story. This is very unique to you, unique to your background, unique to your history, unique to your lived-in experiences, your beliefs, your values. It also is also derived from your teaching philosophy statement. So it's so you. So I know that you might be tempted to like see a beautiful template there or someone that wrote it, but it represents them. The diversity statement is a personal essay that discusses your personal beliefs, your experiences, your efforts related to diversity, equity, inclusion. So that's when you read the word DEI, so that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It also serves to demonstrate the candidate, because you're applying probably for a job, your commitment to fostering that diversity and equity and inclusion, and supporting the diverse communities in a professional setting. So it basically says you, with all your background, history, beliefs, personality, values, how are you going to implement all that in that shared space? So the employer might say, oh no, that person is looks toxic. I don't want that. Or that person, oh my God, that person is so fair, so equitable, so diverse. They'll fit right in. It's gonna be a wonderful addition to the team. They're gonna have this and this asset to help us serve the community better, or serve or make outcomes better. So let's talk about its importance in academia, in corporate and nonprofit. So it's very critical in academia, job applications, and also grant submissions. Remember, you're teaching a whole diverse set of humans that you cannot control. We are in a very metropolitan city, or I mean, the world now is on Zoom. So you really are talking to a very diverse set of people. So it's very important in academia, so you can serve your student better and serve your college better. I'm sorry, but Siri talked to me, so I really don't know if you heard that or not. Also, it helps organizations and institutions to understand how candidates will contribute to the diverse and inclusive environment in the shared space. So what is diversity, equity, and inclusion? It looks like a buzzword, but what does it actually mean? So the definition of diversity is the presence of differences within a given setting, encompassing various dimensions like race, ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation, disability, socioeconomic statuses, and so much more. What is inclusion? So inclusion is a verb. It's your active engaging, valuing individuals from diverse backgrounds. It's ensuring that you have equal access, that they have equal access to same opportunities and resources that you offer. So no matter who the person is, with all their background and history, they still get to access all the opportunities and resources. And therefore, they can contribute fully to your organization's success, or your class success, or your nonprofit success. Why does it matter? So diversity without inclusion is ineffective. It's simply non-effective. Inclusion ensures that the diversity voices are heard. So all of these people from different backgrounds, age, history, they are heard, they are valued. So in conclusion, it leads to a richer discussion, innovative solutions when we have problems, and more dynamic community. The wheel does go on. Okay, so what are the key components of an effective diversity statement? So when you start writing your diversity statement, you have to know that you have to include your personal experiences and background. So you share your journey, experiences with diversity. Maybe you are the diversity. You are from all over the place. You are the diversity. I like to think that about myself. I am the diversity. I have all this history, all this ethnicity, all this rich background. I've been here and there. I've studied there and there. Yeah, all of that personal background and experience. Then you take a step back and you reflect on how diverse experiences have shaped your views and actions. So yeah, you have traveled around the world. How does that shape you? You come from a minority. You have seen, and not only seen, you have witnessed, seen, and experienced all the negative and the positive of being a minority. How does that shape your views and actions? Then you have to write concrete examples of promoting diversity in community of the workplace. So it's not just a felt feeling. The employer cannot go inside your brain and your heart and assume that, okay, since you are a minority, or you have traveled, or you had this hardship or whatnot, you are now, you know what you're doing, or you have a plan, or you know how to put all that into action. You have to write that. You have to write a concrete example of how you are going to be promoting diversity in your workspace. For academia, for example, if you're going to teach a class, if you're going to be part of an office, if you're going to be part of a public health program, the sky's the limit. You're going to be asked to write a diversity statement everywhere now. And you have to include your future goals. So this is not only a present thing, it has to be carried on. How are you going to plan, or what is your strategy? What's your game plan for advancing diversity and inclusion in the future? So you have this amount of diversity. How are you going to grow it? What are you going to do? How are you going to promote it? How are you going to personally become more knowledgeable about that? Are you going to take workshops? Are you going to have some elbow grease with the community so you know exactly what's happening and get updated? Are you going to be evidence-based driven? Are you going to read the literature? What are you going to do to make future plans for promoting diversity? So you have to outline those plans and the continuing support and advance of diversity and inclusion for your future and for your environment. So what are the exact steps? So the first thing, you have to reflect. You have to have clarity. Maybe do an identity map in front of you. Who are you? Who are you? Do an identity map, put your picture in the middle. You're a sister, you're a brother, you're a daughter, you are from this race, you're from this ethnicity, you are that age, you're a mother, you have worked in this and this and that. Who are you? Who are you? What is the makeup of you? And then look at it. Consider how your background and experiences have influenced your views and approaches to diversity and inclusion. You have to reflect. No one can do that work for you. So you have to reach a point of clarity to put all that in front of you. And even if it was the worst experiences ever, because lives are ups and downs, and some of us really had it harder than others. Or you saw your parents have a harder life. That's all your makeup. Reflect on that and take the essence of it. Look at the bright side. How are you going to use all that to become how are you going to use all that to be part of your arsenal? So now all of that pain, all of that experience, all of that, how is it going to be part of your ammunition? Also, since you did the reflection, you have to provide specific examples of how are you going to do it. So use concrete examples to illustrate your active participation and contribution to fostering diversity. I will do this. I have done that. I have contributed with fellow friends to do this and this and that for that specific community in that specific office. What did you do? Or if you have nothing yet, what are you going to do? It's fine. Sometimes we are still starting out. This is your first diversity statement. You're going to grow into many, many diversity statements because you're going to grow. You're going to have lots of experiences. You're going to have lots of beliefs. You are going to become more diverse as you go because you have a plan for yourself. We said you are going to have future plans and initiatives in promoting diversity. So you at this point is not the same person in 5 years. You're going to be more diverse. You're going to be more well-versed. You're going to have more experiences. So your first one, it's fine. You could write your aspirations. If I have this in front of me, if I have this specific situation, since you did not go through a specific situation, I will do this and this and that. Hypothetical. Then you have to articulate your commitment. You have to express your commitment very clearly on the diversity and inclusion, and how you plan to enact this commitment. Discuss your future plans on how you intend to continue to support and promote diversity in your future endeavors, and use clarity, be concise, be authentic. This is your voice. This paper is selling you. This is saying so much about you. It's not only your resume. This is the actual you. This is your essence. Avoid jargon, avoid cliches. Just be authentic. Don't use the buzzwords. Just write who you are. Also, it's very important to get the job where you are smart enough to go on the job description and like the employer you're trying to employ to get employed at, and read about them, their commitment to diversity. So if they are very keen on minorities, try to make your focus about that. So, Sarah, what you're saying, are you saying that my diversity statement that is very authentic to me changes by the employer? Yes. You do want the job, essentially. You're not saying something that is not truthful. You're saying exactly what you feel about that. And I'm sure that you have something in you that addresses that. You cannot pick and choose diversity. You cannot pick and choose inclusion. You cannot pick and choose equity, right? No one is free until we're all free. No one is included until we're all included. everyone has to be part of the dialogue. So you go to the employer site, see what do they want, what is their essence, and see if you match up. Sometimes you will read theirs and you go like, you know what, I don't want this job anymore. They're not what I need. And that's fine. Because they don't align with my values. Yes, Tamar.
Here's a question from, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, Deja. It seems like it would be difficult to describe one's journey and how it influenced the plans in one page. How can we balance being specific and authentic and being succinct? Which is a great question, Deja.
It's a great question. So it's where you balance the important highlights that you want to, that are your selling points. Okay, because this is not your autobiography. Okay, because and all of that, your journey will also be included in your teaching philosophy. So you're not putting anything, discarding anything to the side. You're picking and choosing the important highlights that might obtain the job that you want. Because at the end, what is your outcome? Is your outcome writing a very long diversity statement to be proud of it and just like to look at it and to reflect? That's great. Summarize that. You're trying to get a job. That's the main focus. Tamar, do you want to add something to that?
I put in the chat in response to Deja, it is definitely a process, refining one's DEI statement, thinking about reflecting, as Dr. Sarah has been pointing to, reflecting on what it is that you want to highlight the most, right? Because you don't want to highlight everything. Again, I'm reiterating basically what Dr. Sarah has pointed to, but practice. We talk about this often in cafe, like it's not, I wrote it in 10 minutes and it's done and ready to go. No, it takes practice. Reflection takes practice. The reflexive practice that we talk about in cafe is a practice. And so
Yes.
that was my addition here, is to, draft things out and then, consider sharing with a colleague or somebody whose feedback and wisdom even that you respect. Consider maybe taking advantage of the resources of the Center for Writing and Rhetoric. Take advantage of the fellows and the staff at Cafe, right? So that you start that refinement process, not on your own, really, what do I do? What do I say? You have support to be able to then refine and keep practicing until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think this is good to present to the institution or to the HR. Yeah.
I love the question. Hi, Tamar. I have a question. How do I get away from creating a cookie cutter type of diversity statement?
Again, reflection. What makes Juan Carlos Juan Carlos? Juan Carlos, is it the Juan Carlos that I know? Yes. You think about.
Yeah, it's me.
Hi, good to see you.
Okay.
Think about, okay, when Dr. Sarah is pointing to who am I? There are the surface levels, and then upon further reflection and through that process of daily, weekly reflecting on what drives me, this phrase makes people giggle, but like what turns me on, that who am I, and how do I share that with others with the underlying value system of diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, right? The justice is part of this conversation more and more, as it should be, right? What makes me stand out? What makes me valuable in an institution, given my lived experience, given my intellectual capacities, given my transferable skills from previous experiences? And then also, like, what do you offer? It's something that one refines on their own. Yeah.
I like to say that it sells yourself. I like to say sell yourself. What are your tools? What are the tools that you are in your hand that makes candidate A different than candidate B? Why are you better? Why are you better? So while it may look like a cookie cutter, but it's not your final work. It's not your first one. It's your first one, not your last one. It's different for every employer. It changes like a chameleon to address the different skills that you have that matches that institution that you're trying to get into. I think it's a summary of what you can do for them, because if they're asking you to focus more on minority, your diversity statement should focus more on minority. Other people are their main concern is access. This is what you're going to focus at. Your another employer's diversity or DEI path is towards justice. That's what you're supposed to like focus on. Yes, Tamar. Yes, Doctor.
I would like to add, in terms of that's what to focus on, my contribution to that would be focus on by reflecting on what your experiences or what your goals, how they highlight that particular thing. If it's justice, if it's what was the what you just said a moment ago?
Minority justice. For example, I forgot what I mentioned, but sometimes their focus is access.
Yeah, access.
Opportunities,
Exactly.
yeah.
So like there's a way that may seem inauthentic, right? Okay, I read that they do X, Y, and Z. They are focused on justice, and I just cobble something together to match that. That's what we are sort of shifting away from. And in thinking about reflecting and thinking about really refining and the process of this practice, maybe make a list from your experience. What are things that you have done that reveal to you your commitment to access, for example?
Yeah.
And those lists, or like, I'll show you, okay, forgive the silliness on the walls, but like you can put papers on the wall and just make lists for yourself and really start to, I think often, and this is something that I remember the former director of the Career Development Office would talk about. We don't recognize fully sometimes the skills and the experiences that we have. So it takes that practice to be like, oh, no, wait a minute, I have done X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And then you start to really like pluck out this one thing where you're like, this really reflects my moral compass, my value system, and how do I present that in a way that is concise, but that's also direct. Yeah.
I think I want to add just one sentence to the whole pick and choose. So let's not forget that this is a job application. At the end of the day, you are doing this to obtain that job, to secure that job. How to make this paper authentic, look like you, and sounds like you, and is essentially part of your essence, that's where we're trying to influence. The content of the diversity statement is you and what your employer is looking for. Other than that, you don't match. So if you decide to go against this, you are going to send a diversity statement that only talks about minorities because you are a minority and not mention anything else. And they are committed to justice. And you're not going to match. It's like fast dating. Someone else is going to have the diversity statement that matches what they need. I think that's like how to put your soul into a form, like a template, rather than it being generic, written by I don't know who, copied sentences from I don't know what, and trying to please the employer. So yeah, please the employer, but let it sound like you. Because, we put our CVs in a specific way. I mean, you put all the stuff that you did. It doesn't really necessarily mean that you've enjoyed doing all that, or you've actually were present for all the present heart and soul in that workshop that you took, or you've taken out it, but you still write it. Yeah, yes, Doctora.
I wanted to say what you're speaking to and what the conversation is wonderfully evolving to is also figuring out who do you align with, right? And I think sometimes we're just talking about, I'm just going to apply to every job that I think might fit. And that's actually dissipating your energy. It's a time suck, right? So part of the research process, part of the reflective practice is figuring out, okay, this university or this professional institution, okay, they're saying this. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to read up on them and see, is this matching what they're saying? Number one. Number two, do I align? Do my values and does my moral compass, does my experience?
Are we a fit? Are we a fit?
Or not? And then move accordingly, and then reflect and refine. Okay, this experience, like 3 experiences I can point to that highlight my connection to access, that they are also pointing to, oh, it's beautiful. Like, and then you present it.
There's something that popped into the mind. So scrutinize them the way that they're scrutinizing your paper. Like, look at their website. Do you really want to work for these people? Do they have a diversity statement there? Are they focused on what you're focused on? Are they focused on your people, on your problems? Are they serving your community? Maybe I don't want to work for them, you know? That's a really excellent discussion. I really like that. But it also taps into the do's and don'ts that I mentioned. So be sincere, be authentic, be specific, use specific concrete examples. They cannot come into your head. They cannot tap into your inner soul and figure out your experiences. You have to flaunt them the same way that you list stuff on your resume. They will not know except if you write them. Reflect on your personal journey and growth in understanding diversity, and clearly articulate your future plans for promoting diversity and inclusion. I've repeated that so many times, but this is a hidden skill. It means that you, as an employee, you have personal growth. You're a lifelong learner. You're humbled that you're going to learn forever how to promote that. Don't avoid generalizations and cliche. Don't exaggerate your experiences or understanding, so you're not, I'm trying to find like a philosopher's name, but I'm a dentist, so I have no idea. But like, you're not that person, okay? Okay. And stay away from ambiguous statements that do not clearly express your commitment to diversity. Just read it very well. Do you understand what is being read? Like, let your mother read it. Does she know? Like, did she like read it and go like, oh yeah, that's really nice? Or did she like give you an eyebrow like, huh? What's that? So let's talk about little tips on how to reflect individual experiences and perspectives. So tell your story. Just tell your story, personalize your statement by sharing your unique journey and experiences with diversity. And use those experiences to illustrate your understanding and commitment to diversity. Highlight the importance of storytelling. So it should be like, it flows very well. It's a story that you read from end to finish. Making a personal connection with the reader. Don't be a boring book. Don't be a boring one-pager. Be interesting. Because you're writing it in your own voice. And I'm sure that if we have a conversation, you're very, very interesting. So make that transcribed to the paper. Also, highlight your impact. So demonstrate how you actively contribute to creating or promoting diversity or inclusive environment. So let's do this exercise together. So this is an example of a successful diversity statement. So I grew up in a multicultural neighborhood in Miami, where I was fortunate to be exposed to a rich tapestry of cultures and traditions from an early age. This environment fostered in me a deep appreciation for diversity and an understanding of the myriad ways people can be different and yet so alike. My commitment to diversity and inclusion is rooted in these early experiences and has grown through my professional journey as a social worker. So do you see how they started off with a little brief history of them? They open up in a personal reflection, and they set the context for the author's commitment to diversity, indicating that it's both personal and valuable and professional, because this has shaped their journey as a social worker. So in my current role, I lead a community outreach program that serves a diverse population, including immigrants, refugees, low-income families. I've initiated projects like Language Bridge, which offers language support and translate services to non-English speaking community members, and Career Pathways, a program designed to provide job training and placement for underrepresented groups. These initiatives have not only helped individuals, but also fostered a culture of inclusivity and mutual respect within the community. So the use of specific language and contributions like Language Bridge, Career Pathways programs are concrete examples of how the author's efforts to address specific needs within diverse communities. These examples show how the author's active role in creating and leading initiatives that support diversity and inclusion they're showcasing their ability to translate commitment into action. So they concluded by saying, looking ahead, so that's their future plan, I am committed to further developing programs that address systemic barriers to equality and inclusion. My goal is to create environments where diversity is not just accepted, but celebrated, and where every individual has the opportunity to thrive. So I think that like the ending, highlights their future goals. What are they going to do and how are they going to do it? So that's an example. I think the effectiveness of this diversity statement lies in the blend of personal narrative and concrete examples of contributions, because they mentioned what programs they did. And there is a clear expression of ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusion. It illustrates the author's active engagement with diversity, not just as an abstract principle, but as a lived reality and a central element of their personal and professional lives. So without further ado, let's open the floor for questions and Q&As. We have two professionals here, Dr. Tamar and Dr. Sarah. We can tackle those questions, hopefully. We are very diverse. Does anyone have any questions?
I actually do have a question. I don't know if it was maybe asked before I was able to get into the Zoom. Again, thank you for your patience with that. Where are y'all at in the process or the progress of crafting your diversity statements? And which parts of it, I know some of it is already included in the chat, but which parts of it have felt the most challenging so that we can address that even more than we already have in this wonderful 40 minutes?
I can go. I met with Dr. Sarah. Thank you so much. That has been extremely helpful. And Tamar, you and I think, had classes back in the day, so it's nice to see you. So with regards to this, I have started, I have bullet points, right, of who I am. But where I struggle, well, it's 3 areas. The first one is how to consolidate my lived experiences, because like Sarah had said, I am diversity, right? And so that's the big part. The second one is where to draw the line, where it's my personal experience, but not too personal because it is a work. And then my third and last one is I struggle with diversity statements because I don't want people to feel pity for me for going through these obstacles. These are things that define me and make me strong, even though they sucked when they occurred. But again, it's not me putting it out there for you to read and be like, wow, this person, like, I'm not sure if I'm conveying what I'm trying to say correctly, but those are my 3
I understand you. And I want to address some of them, and I'm sure that Tamar wants to address it more as well. So basically, my advice to you is write it all down at the beginning. Like, Pick a paper and pencil and like write it all down. Pour your heart, Stephanie. And don't think about the employer. You're not sending that to the employer. I want you to write all that. All that, every single painful situation that you had that shaped you. You write it all. Write it all. Get it out of your chest. Write it all out of chest. Look at that. Now is the process of what are we going to say and how are we going to say it in a way that it still sounds chic, okay? While also maintaining its deepness. So you're not trying to shallow your lived experiences. I don't know you, but I'm not going to allow you to do that. Your lived experiences are important. They're the ones that make you. I'm not going to give you an advice to make them shallow and just plain. Maybe. Some stuff can be articulated in ways that do not reveal so much. So a sentence like, my upbringing was in a humble socioeconomic class. There's no need to say more. There's no need to count the hungry nights or the multiple jobs that your mom had or the multiple jobs that your dad have or something like that. There's no need. Like that sentence, while very inclusive of the thought, pertains a lot. For example, those little details that you'd like to keep to you because you don't want pity. You're actually trying to show the exact opposite of pity. You are trying to say that I am strong, I am unique, I am an asset because I had all this background. Because I have all this background, it has shaped me to be the Joker card. I can be placed in any socioeconomic class and be one of the community and be one that serves that position well because I know the language, I know the struggles, I know what's important. No one has to know the really personal details about what struggle was that. The word struggle is enough. That's my opinion. I mean, I think Tamar can add more to that, but that's like my opinion, while keeping the integrity of your lived experiences there and it's not an autobiography and it's not a place for anyone definitely not a place for you to feel embarrassed with. So it's like you're not putting this paper out to feel and 1% uncomfortable. You're actually putting it there to say, look at me, I made it, in my opinion.
I will add, so Stephanie, I put your 3 comments or questions in the chat, how to consolidate one's experiences. One way is to look at it as a consolidation. Another, maybe looking at it from this perspective, might be, as Dr. Sarah pointed to, putting everything down on a page, on the paper, on the wall. Maybe some folks, they write it on little flashcards and just put it on the floor. Look at things. And maybe this different perspective, both valuable, would be it's not a consolidation as much as it is plucking out the things you want to highlight. So you don't have to put this, and then I did this, and then this. No. What are maybe 3 things that you really want to highlight? Number 1. Number 2, in the chat, if we read it, where to draw the line where it's personal, but not too personal. Excellent point. I think the specificity that we're pointing to, and Dr. Sarah, correct me if I'm going off course, but the specificity is not in the listing of things and the details of what happens. The specificity is in what you did, how you contributed, and like how that reflects or reveals your value system, your moral compass,
I like to say, how did that become a tool?
Exactly.
So what tool? So if this thing that you, this horrible experience you had, does not end up with a tool, it doesn't need to be mentioned because it did not end up with a tool. Because why would why would your employer care for that? Your employer cares for the tools that you can give them. So you speak multiple languages because you were there and there and there and there. You can connect to multiple socioeconomic classes because you were in all of them. You grew out of the 0 to the 10 that you are now. So you speak the language of everyone. The not the language as in the words, but like the culture. You know the struggles of a certain community. So basically, if you're there, you know firsthand how to be part of that community and you extract the important information that your employer needs. If you're looking into academia, yeah, I can teach in a college where I have everyone there, like the all socioeconomic classes, all languages, all minority and not minority. I am dealing with immigrants, refugees, and lived experiences, war survivors, orphans. I can do that because I did this and I know how to do this and this and that to bridge that gap. Therefore, I can give that lecture, I can give that course, I can help everyone access this degree. That's my opinion. Like if the history did not end with a tangible skill that you have, it's just a lived-in experience that shaped you, but that's not something that you want to flaunt. So maybe, yeah, go ahead, Tamar.
To piggyback off of what Dr. Sarah just pointed to, you don't have to include everything. Let's reiterate that. Let's underscore that. You don't have to include, like, in recent years, I was it was underscored for me, like maybe the last 5 to 7 years of employment and not like your whole life, right? So in the same vein, you want to, again, tweeze and pluck out certain things. Maybe set a goal for yourself. After you purge everything onto the page or onto the flashcards, pick three experiences that you want to reflect upon as part of your practice, where you think about what tool or what skill or what superhero power, if we want to use that the HR terminology, what did that reveal in me? How did I develop it, right? Maybe pick 3 things. And I wanted to return to Stephanie, your questions in terms of not inviting pity. If we focus on the tools and our skills and our temperament and our wisdom, then we are sort of setting the ship on a path that is dignified. And you want to present yourself with dignity. And no matter, I want to steer away from, so the ship metaphor today is like very strong with me, forgive me. But like, I want to steer away from bad experiences, all experiences, right? I mean, and every experience has the potential of having good, bad, and everything in between, right? So again, plucking out the what it offered us, whatever it was, and then focusing on how that shaped you, how that makes you a valuable asset, how that makes you a person that is rooted in what they want to accomplish and how they want to support, right? How they want to support others, be it students, be it staff members, be it if you're in a leadership position, the community members, right? That is so rooted in dignity and not in something that hopefully is like rooted in a pitying response, right? This I keep doing this, like that's where you want to sort of Sarah knows these
this is
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Thank you so much. So it's basically right, because I'm taking this from like my psychology background. This is kind of doing like a qualitative analysis on myself. So I am doing
I love that. Yeah,
myself.
I'm gonna use that in my next lecture.
Okay, so I'm doing an interview to myself. From there, I'm looking at what themes are very prominent. And then from there, I'm writing my DEI statement based on the higher level overview of these themes to then tie it in.
I think that's like beautifully said.
Perfect.
And I wish I had this sentence so I can wow you all with it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. We are inviting more questions, but I also opened the chance for the polls just in case if someone needs to run. Please give us your feedback so we can